Hello everybody, this is Gwyneth Isaac speaking here. Oh my gosh, I've been on YouTube. Sometimes I think I spend too much time on YouTube, but sometimes I really find somebody who just flat out inspires me, and I've just found one of these people, and his name is called James Sussman. And his main topic that he discusses is work. And so much of what he said in that first 10-minute video that I listened to of him talking made total sense. This is a synopsis of his story. He went to university, I think it was Cambridge in England, and he studied anthropology. He got a job working with the Kalahari Bushmen in Africa. And it was some project for somebody to make themselves feel good, like they weren't oppressing the Kalahari and that they were being Kalahari Bushmen and that they were being looked after or whatever. So, meanwhile, all their hunting rights have been taken away, and big fences have been built across the migratory paths of the gnu that they utterly rely on, and all the other migratory African animals, which has almost wiped them out. But got to feel good about yourself. So let's do a UN study about the Kalahari Bushmen. That's one of my pet peeves, is how indigenous people groups such as the Kalahari Bushmen have been treated. And I think that they should all just be left alone, including the Australian Aborigines, but we'll get to that after, maybe. I grew up, my parents were former missionaries among the Yamaji tribe in West Australia. My dad spoke the Yamaji language, which is Wodjeri, and he said that he had learned just as much about spirituality from the Yamaji as what he taught them about Jesus, the cross, forgiveness of sins, and all the rest of it. And it was a very productive interaction, and to this day, my dear old dad, Ted Carter, is held in very high regard by the Yamaji. And I love the Yamaji. I think that they are... It's a really tragic tale, but there's something really quite special about the Yamaji. They've got a really beautiful heart on the inside of them, and within their culture. But I'll get back to that topic because I want to focus at the moment on James Sussman. So he ended up working with the Kalahari Bushmen for many years, and then because of his aid work, he got made one of the head PR guys at De Beers, the diamond company, who have a lot of financial interests in South Africa, and they thought it was a really good idea to employ this prominent anthropologist who cared so much about African tribes and shove him to the top of their corporate ladder. They thought that was a good idea. He worked with De Beers for 7 years and then left, apparently feeling as if he had accomplished very little and was sick of them. And he went back to the Kalahari, back to the tribe that he had lived with all those years ago, and just started living like a Kalahari Bushman. And he still has to make this funny he still has to accumulate to himself this funny stuff that we have in the West called currency. He had to make a living, which also has, of course, the idea of work. So he started to write. And he found that he was writing for about 2 or 3 hours a day. In other words, about 15 hours a week. And it's a funny thing because he says that most people, to fulfill their bodily needs, somehow just end up spending 15 hours a week fulfilling their bodily needs. So that's food, shelter, water, clothing, and then you can focus on other things, entertainment, sitting around the campfire telling stories, all that sort of thing, fun, whatever fun means to your culture. But so he found that he was writing for 15 hours a week, which is ironic, but anyway, he found what he had to say about the Kalahari Bushmen and work lined up with my experience, because I mentioned that my dad was a retired missionary with the Yamaji in West Australia, and he did that on a volunteer basis. At the time he was a lay minister with the Baptist Church. Later on he became a lay minister with the Catholic Church. He was also a Presbyterian for a little while, so I grew up. He didn't actually much. He obviously had to be in the white community, but he much rather preferred having Maori friends than, because I grew up in New Zealand, not many Aborigines in New Zealand, except New Zealand Aborigines, which are Maoris. So I grew up among the Maoris, just because a lot of my dad's friends were Maoris. And I noticed something with just being around Maori people, New Zealand Maori. And I lived with the sister of the High Chief of the Te Arawa tribe. And her brother was the eldest son of 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 the eldest son, all the way back to Tamata Kapua, who is the guy who is responsible for the New Zealand Maori making their voyage from Hawaii to New Zealand back in the day, and Tamata Kapua ended up living at Ohinemutu, which is on the shore of Lake Rotorua. And I know all of these places really, really well. This was where I grew up, Rotorua, Pākehā, white person. So sometimes you'll hear me saying Rotorua, and sometimes you say Rotorua, whatever. Both is good. But that's where I grew up. I found that I preferred being around the Maori than being around white people. And when I went into adolescence, 16, thereabouts, I remember on one occasion I just decided I'd had enough of work. I wasn't going to go to work that day. So I went around to a Maori friend's house and I had cups of tea with them all day. Had a lot of fun. And then the cops showed up at the front door. Turned out I'd been reported as a missing person. I think they were actually there for another reason, but I was there. So, And I went home at my usual time, and I thought, well, you know, I'm sure no one will notice that I was missing. 16. I don't know if you ever did anything like that when you were 16, but I certainly did. I was a free spirit. And if I'd had enough of something, I'd just stop cooperating. And I found that the Maori people had that, they were kindred spirits in their view of life. That if they thought that something was stupid or that some rule made no sense, it was going to actually be harmful to them, they just wouldn't do it. They wouldn't shout and have big protests or anything, rah, 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 or anything like that. They'd just stop doing it and just quietly do whatever it was that they were doing all along. And that was how they were, and I thought, this is a good way to be. And I've always thought that. That's so, you look back on my YouTube channel and you see the history of my life for the last however many years. I think it's 12 years now I've been on YouTube. Boy, oh boy, I've had some hairy adventures. I know that probably half of my subscribers have subscribed in the past year. Big thumbs up to you guys, mate. God bless every one of you. You know, mate, you know, I think, you know, I can do this. I can keep making these videos. I can help all you fellas to, you know, do this. But the attitude to work that James Sussman was saying, it just like resonated, you know, like a tuning fork on the inside of me. And I said, yes. Back to the memories of like being at Rotorua and, you know, among the Maori. And then later on, I, you know, moved to Geraldton, West Australia. Found myself living in a Yamaji area. So I ended up making a lot of Yamaji friends. Auntie Julie Dwyer. Auntie Julie, if you're seeing this, I love you. And I've got lots of prickly pears growing. She's the lady who introduced me to prickly pears. She says, she damn prickly pear, Jenny. That damn best bush tucker you'll ever see. She was right. Best bush tucker. Not an indigenous plant, but best bloody bush tucker you'll ever see, mate. Prickly pears. Prickly pears. Prickly pears. See, Auntie Julie? Auntie Julie, look. Prickly pears. Woohoo! Best bloody bush tucker you'll ever see, mate. Ha! She had a prickly pear plant growing at her front door. She said, here, have some. Pick one off. Cut it open. She said, watch out, it's sharp. She's right, sharp. Got prickles. She said, but it's easy, you just scrape them off. Scrape them off. Peel it. She showed me how to peel it, top and tail, and slid him down the belly and wrap him off. Best bloody bush tucker you'll ever see, mate. They taste good. Really good. And the leaves. The nopalitos as well. I don't know if she knew about the leaves. But I went out hunting with Auntie Julie. I gave her a lift to her tribal area, her country. And because she didn't drive. I had an automobile at the time. I've still got my driver's license. But, you know, that's a whole nother story. I won't go into that today. But, yeah. I'd take her up to her country. We'd hang out for a day or two. chasing kangaroos with our dogs. Hanging out, telling stories around the campfire. Really beautiful. Going fishing. Looking after the infrastructure. It was an old cattle station. Had been given back to the Aborigines, this cattle station. So it had wells. She said, see that damn shame. They've got them bees in there. If I'd known now what I knew then, I'd have said, hey, Auntie Julie, I know how to get rid of them bees. Build a fire down the wall. That's what I would have said. I would have said, build a fire, chuck, it's got all sorts in there anyway. Just get paper, cardboard, whatever. Just gradually tip it down the well. And get a bit of something that's sort of not flammable. I don't know, petrol. Sprinkle a bit of petrol around on top of the paper and the branches and all the rest of it. Chuck a match in. No more bees. That's how you get rid of bees out of a well. They were honeybees. Honeybees are invasive. They make delicious honey, but down a well is hard to get. Now, this was a hand dug old well. If I'd been around today, helping Auntie Julie out with lift her country and all that sort of stuff, that's what I'd say. I didn't think of it at the time. I've thought of it since. I often think of Auntie Julie. I love Auntie Julie Dwyer. She's my friend. But she would work maintaining culture, trying to get young people interested in their traditional ways, unfortunately without much success. She said, Jenny, Gwyneth, about the only young person who's shown any interest. At the time I was like 27, 28. There was things she couldn't tell me because I'm not of that kin group. So, but I'm sure she told me as much as she could. I had my own problems at the time as well, but I tried to see as much of her as I could. I love Auntie Julie. I have a lot of fond memories of, being with her. But once again, most of her time was spent, she'd do what she needed to do to meet her bodily needs, and the rest of the time was leisure. She was quite old. Gosh, if she's still alive, she must be about 80 now. Old lady. But that's how that was my experience of work among the Maori and among the Aborigines. And the Aborigines are often accused of being lazy by the white people. And, unfortunately, they drink too much. They use a lot of drugs. They should, if you're a Yamaji person or if you're of any indigenous tribal nation, then you need to go and find the old people in your community. You need to go and make friends with them. You need to learn as much as you can from them. Because they're not going to be here forever. And that knowledge needs to be passed down. And only a handful of people, a lot of indigenous people groups have no one in the young population who's interested in learning their traditional ways. So when the old people die out, so much knowledge dies with them. And this knowledge is work. I can assure you of that. This knowledge is work. Maintaining country is work. Going around throwing sticks and logs and carefully down wells and bits of paper and cardboard, and then dousing it with a bit of petrol and then chucking a match in. That's work. That is work. That is a fucking dangerous job, excuse me. When you're throwing that match down, you better run like the dickens. Because if the bees have got another entrance, they're going to find you, mate. They're going to try and find you. Because you fucking well, although the fire, they might just see it as being a natural thing, and just smoke calms bees. Smoke calms bees, but that's the best way to get rid of a beehive out of an old, traditionally dug well. Lots of fun. Woohoo! Just carefully. And often there's lots of brush and sticks and twigs and gum leaves and eucalyptus leaves and all the rest of it down the well anyway. You just need to carefully put some paper, newspaper and old boxes and stuff like that. Sprinkle a bit of petrol. Matches. Because you can throw a match. You can't throw really a lighter. And the whole thing will go. So you need to throw the match and immediately run like the dickens in the opposite direction. And don't do it in the middle of summer. Because it will go. Fuck. Do it in the middle of winter when everything's damp and you're not going to set half the fucking countryside on fire, alright? This is what you do. But if you do it in the middle of winter, it'll burn your bees out if you will. That's how you get rid of the bees out of That's how you get rid of bees out of a well. Lots of fun. You didn't hear it from me, all right? That's true. Otherwise, good luck getting those bees out of that well without poisoning the well. You can't do it. You can't get in there safely. The only way is to, and that's work. That's work. I wish I'd known that at the time. I wish I'd suggested that to Auntie Julie. She probably would have looked at me and gone, "Oh, Jenny, you're real smart. You must be Yamaji." I'm not Yamaji, but I am. I'd have a lot of Yamaji kinship ties. I'm not genetically Yamaji. But I'm probably more Yamaji in my heart from having hung around Yamaji people for so long than a lot of Yamaji. And my niece, my brother married a Yamaji woman, so my niece is a Yamaji. Now my brother's children are Yamaji woman. Their children are Yamaji. And if you're my niece, if you're watching this, please go and find one of your old people and learn as much as you can from her. Nobody's doing that. And that goes for the men too, because the men are in an even more desperate situation than the women are, because among the Yamaji, they have just about a different culture for men and women. You've got men's business and women's business. Women are not allowed to learn men's business, and men are not allowed to learn women's business. But men have more of a problem talking than women do, and that goes across all women all over the world. Women are just digging up the yam roots. Oh, did you see that? Did you see that good-looking guy at the corroboree last night? Oh, yeah, he was pretty special looking, wasn't he? Dig, 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 dig. Women are just like that all over the world. Oh, I'm too old for that. You know, 50 years old now. That puts me in the category of auntie or grandma among the Yamaji, I suppose. You know, I love the Yamaji people. I love the New Zealand Maori. You know, but they've got big problems. And the main one is drugs, alcohol, and none of the young people so busy getting drunk and stoned that they don't want to learn about their culture. They don't want to learn about country. That's a big problem. But we can all learn something about our relationship to work from indigenous tribal groups. You need to spend about 15 hours a week meeting your bodily needs, and then you need to do what you need to do with the rest of your life. With me, that 15 hours a week would be looking after my animals, and the rest of it is improving this place, caring for country here, which is also work. I regard that as sometimes very hard work, like building new chicken pens, catchment management, making these videos to help all of you, and build my YouTube channel, and so that I can have YouTube as a source of income in the future, not be so reliant on unemployment benefits. Please remember, like, share, subscribe, comment. Love hearing from you guys. Okay? Especially if you are in a situation where you are descended from or have kinship ties, or even, you know, there's still full-blood indigenous tribal people out there. Go and find someone older than you who knows about the culture, about the ways of your people. Go and sit at their feet and learn from them. I urge everybody to do that, because these people are dying off. They're dying off at a rate of knots. You know, the Australian Aborigines, my niece's grandma, meaning her great-grandma, raised my nieces, because my brother's actually not a really good person. He's, you know, he has problems with various things, which I'm not going to go into here. And the Yamaji woman that he married, he really led her astray. So she ended up having problems too. So Nana men, many ended up raising my niece and her sister, my nieces. Nana men, one of the main elders of the Yamaji, born near a waterhole. in West Australia. No birth certificate. She only died early 2000s at about the age of 108. So that's what I mean when I say to my niece, I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are. Go and find some Yamachi you go and learn from them. That's what you're meant to do. God bless you all, and I'll see you later.